Okay, this is our our tamed copper volcano. Very happy with it. Extremely happy. Can be improved. Will improve it when it goes dormant, which will be very soon. We've got another geyser over there. We've got a minor we've got a minor volcano here. We've got a major volcano there. We've got a couple more bits and bobs all over the shop that I would like to investigate and explore, etc., etc. More places that I want to core out completely and that we will get to coring. Generally speaking, ice is not going to be cored. Ice is going to be allowed to melt on its own time, because that way we get more of the precious water, though increasingly we need it less because we've got so many sources of water now. It's a little bit bonkers. Over here, we are slowly evacuating all of the gases in this area so that I can prime this and start it running again. This will hopefully one day be a very, very big part of our energy production. I'm sincerely hopeful that this will do us some great stuff, but we'll see how that goes overall. We're slowly migrating more and more hydrogen up there as time allows. I'm probably going to expand this. I've had an epiphany. I need more. I need at least one more layer, so that we've got an instance of every type of power generation. Steam, petroleum generators, even though they can run on ethanol. We've got natural gas. We will have hydrogen, and then we will finally have coal, and then I will finally be happy with that. And obviously we need more and more stuff in here to keep this place running nice and hot all the time. But okay, is there anything in particular peeps would like to see on this before we get down to business to defeat the Huns, etc., etc., etc.? Hey, Mira. Hello, Aavak. How's the copper volcano going? It's going actually very well. Wow, streaming again? Yay! Indeed I am, 221D. The cooling system, personally. Okay, Entropic Radar. Well, right now, the cooling system is pretty much entirely passive. I will bring up the temperature overlay. The cooling system is, right now, entirely passive. It is running off the chill of our frozen core. I have completely, like, the old cooling system. I have completely disabled the aqua tuners. It is now only doing what it's doing thanks to the chill that exists in the frozen core. And as you can see, our base is a little bit cold. I should probably take those resorts out. This place is maintained at a much nicer temperature because I'm temperature controlling this in both directions. Is it below 25 degrees and is it above 10 degrees? And it's allowed to go in there. This one is just, is it below 25 degrees? As a direct result, my dupes are maybe shivering in bed a little bit. I do feel sorry, but not super sorry. Over here, we've got the cooling system. I haven't done anything with this. I don't want to mess with that right now because I'll get sucked into it, and there are many other things that I want to work on in the near term that I think are more important. But the main thing is that now we're using this properly, things are getting better for us, like a lot better. And all of this is coming from the incredible chill that exists down here. I have expanded it, yeah. We have expanded it out to the side a little bit in both directions. Don't forget solar power. You got to dig a channel all the way up to the top and to have them be on the stack. I mean, Therman, I'm not too rushed to get solar power. I absolutely can, and I do understand how they work. But I'm not making that a high priority right now. I'm not making that a high priority. But yeah, that will be something we will get to. We will get to it. Ultimately, what I'm probably going to do is I may actually, as much as it pains me to do, I may strip out. This may be the new top of the map for me. This point here. And we'll build out in all directions. Then on one side or t'other, probably on this side, for the time being, because it has nothing in the way, we will probably have rocket chimneys all the way down to the bottom of the map on this side to capture all of that glorious, glorious, glorious energy that those rockets will otherwise waste in the cosmos. But I would like to reclaim and put back into other things. We may or may not do that, I'll be honest, because one of the reasons why someone might do that is if they needed water and they wanted to grab the steam that was coming out of like a steam rocket all the way up the rocket chimney and then turn that into we don't need it. We've got enough geysers that produce water that we're never going to realistically run out. The only thing we really need to deal with is cooling them. So it's a bit of a big question on that one. But yeah, if we go into liquid overlay, this will give us a little bit more detailed info about the cooling system. Let's get in there, nice and close. Space is just kind of annoying to deal with. Yeah, Thrul, I mean, I've not played with space, but I get that, I do. Oh, it was mainly joking since you said you had all the power sources. Oh, you mean right on top of this stack? I mean, we're not actually that far. But yes, maybe not. What I could do, if I wanted to be as cruel as I could capture a bunch of shine bugs and enslave them to make them into a mini star to power my solar panels. But okay, what we're doing is we're coming down here about a very, very respectable 29C. It then swings by over here to cool things off. It is there at 29.2. It moves through here and is 38.2. But the end of it, because it is cooling down the copper that is sitting in a little puddle of oil here. It is very hot copper. Very hot copper indeed. So yeah, that's a bit of an issue. And honestly, I should be using that more, using the power from that copper more for my steam engines. And I'm going to refine the design to do that. But then the 39 degree water comes down here, cools down my steam turbines a little bit on its way out. It comes back out at about 40 degrees. And then travels on its merry way back down here. It enters the cooling loop. Well, about there's 34. Wow, really? Has it lost that much heat? No, it's gaining heat. It's just gaining heat back there. But it enters about 36, leaves about -3. So it manages to move quite a lot. See, this is always going to be a problem here. This is always going to be a problem for me. I need to break this pipe because it is always trapping the liquid here and causing me issues, like huge issues. What I could do is have another valve that limits the flow. I don't know. We'll probably do something like that. Either that or I'll just let it go straight out because, yeah, I think we're going to have to let it go straight up there because it's just causing me issues around here. It's just sat there and it's getting colder and colder and colder and colder and colder until it breaks the pipe. But yeah, this is the overall system. It wasn't too good. It wasn't doing an amazing job until I added these blocks of copper here with tungsten pipes underneath them, to just add that extra bit of thermal conductivity. That has helped enormously, actually. It has really, really helped a lot. But as you can see, there's so many sources of water on this map. I don't think we're ever going to worry about that. I certainly don't think we're ever going to need to worry about it. Whether we do or not is another matter entirely, but it's not going to be something we're going to have to do if we don't want to. I'm constantly underwhelmed by our efforts to strip out to call the asteroid. This is something that I am continuing to work on where I can, and we'll be adding more duplicant labor too. One of the things I want to do in this stream, first and foremost, let's check how long is this going to be active for. It's coming up. It's dormant in 6 cycles, and we'll have not that many cycles, I'm going to be honest, about 50 cycles, just 53 actually, to get that set up the way I want. Yeah, the DLC is coming out in the next 2 months. I 100% want to be done with this base in that time. So we're going to see how that one goes. But my plan for this room is once this goes dormant, I'm going to let the steam out I'm going to first let these just run down all of the energy. Then I'm going to allow that steam to be vented out. We're going to go inside. We're going to either hook up some new logic to control the steam engines and the auto sweeper, or, and I think that's the way we're going to do it, honestly, because it'll be so much cheaper to do. What I'm thinking is we'd either have the copper going around in here until it's the right temperature and then allowed to leave, or I turn this on only when these power down because the steam is too cold. That, to me, is probably the best way of doing it, because I'm never going to be able to drop the heat of the steam or the copper below the point where they meet. And once the steam is at 120, this stops sucking it up, so the steam doesn't go anywhere to dump its heat. And the copper, once it's dumped enough heat into it that it's brought the steam up to like 120, and then they'll basically equalize, and then they're just not going to move anymore. So what I could do is just have a bit of automation that doesn't allow this to activate until the steam in the room is below 120 degrees. At that point, these shut off, this turns on, it grabs that copper, loads it up, that copper goes up here. Yes, it's still 120 degree copper, but that's a hell of a lot cooler than the like 500 degree copper that usually comes up here. And once that's just sitting in the pool, this little bit of cooling here will just bring it down the rest of the way. What do you think? What do you think, peeps? No fear. No fear, Leet. Subscribe for 2 months. Second month, best month. Have my Prime. Can't wait for these to walk up on YouTube again. It's been so interesting watching this world so far in. Thank you. I'm really glad that you're enjoying it. But yeah, I think that's going to be a really, really low energy way of dealing with this. So much so, I'm not going to lie, that upon realizing that I could just do that, I started wondering, like, why am I doing this? Why don't I just bring the regolith, all of it, all of the massive weight of regolith in here, drop it in the middle of the room, and just let it sit there, radiating out heat, until such a time as these drop below a certain temperature. And then I pick up the regolith and drop it down here. But, you see, the problem with that is that requires that these engines bleed every bit of energy out of that regolith. Every bit of energy out of that regolith. Whereas this system, I can set to a point where it's like, yeah, you know what? If this regolith isn't 200 degrees or more, it is frankly undeserved of being in the steam room and should go on, jog on, take a long walk off a short pier and into the cooling room where you belong with the other cold peasants. This room is reserved for heat royalty. 200 or more only. That way I can ensure that these engines are always running at maximum yield. The copper volcano, there's no reason for me to worry about that. It's like, you know what, just drag that energy out of that copper as much as you can siphon from it at any point, because I'm not putting any energy into this system, so every bit of energy out of it is pure profit. This one has to be actively cooled. So, you know. Can I set the min temp to the engines to be 200? I mean, I could. But, well, yeah, I could set the min temp to the engines to 200, but that still doesn't mean that the... Well, I don't know, like... The regolith entering would be like 270, 250. I could, I suppose, drop the min temp to 200. And then it only kicks in once the temperature in this room is above like 250 or something, so it's got a bit of headway. I don't know. We could do that, actually. Yeah, I guess we could. We could have this only activate when... turn the engines on if the steam in the room is above 200, and if it's below that, allow the auto super to grab things. But I don't know. I feel that this system it wouldn't work. There's too many caveats with that system, because as items get brought in here and dropped on the ground, I apologize for the theory crafting element of this, because I'm not building anything. I'm just thinking about it, and I appreciate that might not be as engaging. But okay, in our theoretical scenario where these engines don't even turn on until it's 200. Let's say this room is 120. Well, right now, the auto sweeper's turned on, so I bring in my steaming hot, bits of space rock, drop it on the ground, and they immediately get swept up because they're like, no, the engines are off. This room must be cold. Thus, everything in it must be cold. Makes perfect sense to me. Throw it into the cold bin with all of the other cold peasants. And all of a sudden, I'm just wasting that heat. That's problem number one. It is engineerable to be it is solvable through automation engineering, but it would be a pain in the bum to do. Problem number two. Room is already hot enough, but it's just dipped below the heat required. Let's say it is now at 199 degrees, but I've just, again, brought in fresh lumps of steaming hot 500-degree space detritus. Drop it on the ground, but again, it's still 199 degrees. It hasn't had enough time yet to heat up that glorious, glorious steam before the sweeper is like, "Oi, you, get out of here." Now that one is more solvable with an easy fix in that I can put a buffer, like a timer that says, yeah, you know what? The auto sweeper doesn't turn on until 10 seconds of it being below 200 degrees, or 50 seconds, or 1,000 seconds, whatever I want to set it to. But then I'm wasting time rather than energy. It's like, it's less useful. I could just suck it up and be like, you know what? We won't turn them on until it's over 200 degrees. But once it's active, that's fine. But this is a big room, and it takes a lot to warm it up. This room, on the other hand, this room's a lot smaller, and this stuff is coming out of here at 8 kilos of 2,000 degrees. 8 kilos of 2,000 degrees, whatever, per second for 41 seconds. This auto sweeper is not grabbing that before it's risen the temperature of this steam to record highs. So we should probably be okay. We would need 3 stages. Yeah, probably. What we would need to do. I mean, okay, here's a quick thought. Here's a quick thought of the way we could do this. It's increasing the over-engineering required, but you know me, I kind of like that. So here's the thought on how we could do this, whether we do or not. Here's just listen to my plan. Give it a moment of your time before you guffaw and call me a madman. You would be correct, regardless, but still. We would bring in regolith. The auto sweeper would grab it because the room is 120 degrees. Let's go back to our scenario where we're bringing in 500 degree regolith, but the room is currently 120 degrees, and I've told the engines not to turn on until it's 200 degrees. It grabs the regolith, dumps it into the chest. The loader. The loader starts taking it out, but before it takes it out of the room completely, it passes a temperature sensor. If that temperature sensor detects that this is above 120 degrees, therefore, it could warm the room. Potentially warm the room. Now, see, this is already a problem. There is no way for me to create without significant automation wizardry, to create a comparison between 2 temperatures. Nevertheless, it is possible. I've got an and I've got an or. I've got all of the logical operators that I need to be able to cobble together a basic comparison of, is this less than this? But yeah. Anyway, so going back to my plan, we've got the 500 degree regolith. It gets dropped down. It gets picked up. It gets put into a conveyor loader. It goes over a temperature sensor that says, actually, this is above the minimum temperature of the room. So, dump it back into the room and disable the auto sweeper for 10 seconds, giving this more time to dump energy into the room. Now, the problem is if that regolith was only 125 degrees, sure, okay, that was 125 degree regolith, we dump it in, gets cycled through, blah, 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 gets dropped back out. It's not 120 degrees. The steaming here is 125 degrees. The regolith is 125 degrees. These things are not going to change temperature. The auto sweeper is just going to keep picking it up, dumping it in this. It's going to check. It's going to be like, well, it's above 120 degrees, boss. That's what you told me to check, and that's what I've checked, and that's what it is, so it's getting left in the room. I know it's not doing what you wanted me to do, but that's not what you told me to do. I understand what you want me to do, but it's not what you've asked me to do, and I am a stickler for the letter of the law. And so, really, at that point, I only have myself to blame. So it gets dumped back in. Nothing changes. Except I get a growing pile of room temperature regolith, whatever room temperature happens to be, below 200 degrees. I keep adding 500-degree lumps of regolith. It lifts the whole room by a few degrees. But it's also heating all of the regolith in the room up to that temperature. I'd be wasting a lot of heat energy. So much. The only way that would work, yeah, because as these heat up, once these hit 200, these will bleed this room dry of all of its power down to 200. But I would basically have a great deal of regolith in here that is, 120 degrees or whatever, or 200 degrees. It would go down to the lowest point, because I would be saying, only turn these on at 200, so it would be checking, is the regolith colder than 200? If so, get rid of it. There's no way of me checking it again. No way of me easily checking it against the current temperature of the room. The ideal solution would be, is this regolith hotter than the current room temperature? If so, keep it here. If not, get rid. Yes, computers are king of malicious compliance. This is 100% true, Entropic Radar, and anyone who tells you differently has not spent enough time with machines. Either that or maybe sideways doors with a temp sensor next to the drop. So when it drops to certain temps, the doors open to drop through to a collector, though I know how much Aavak doesn't like those. It's similar to what we're talking about now. I mean, ultimately, I could set that up. Right now, effectively, this machine brings in... okay, let's just run through what this machine currently does. Let's say we've got a 120-degree room right now, and we bring in a bunch of regolith at 500 degrees. It would very quickly sync up to whatever the steam in this room is. I'm ultimately having to make a call about, yeah, the regolith in here is below a certain temperature, to get rid of it. But I can adjust that temperature to whatever I want. And I have to do it manually. But yeah, I could gradually keep upping that sensor until eventually it's at the minimum operating temperature of my steam generators. The steam generators won't work if the steam drops below 200 degrees, and any new regolith entering the system immediately gets thrown out if it's below 200 degrees. I mean, we could do it. Never attribute to malice what can be explained by idiocy. But see, the thing is, Madden, in our particular example, I expressly stated the machine knew exactly what I wanted it to do, but it was only doing what I asked it to do. That is malicious compliance. That's not the whole, is this malicious or is it just someone being dumb? No. The machine absolutely knows what you want it to do. It just does what you asked it to do. And it takes extreme pleasure when these two things are different. Extreme pleasure. But we'll see if this system works. Honestly, if we just have the two systems, we will be able to for science which one works better. You know what? The more I think about that, the more I like it. The more I like the idea of, yeah, we're gonna for science this. We're gonna for science which of these two devices works better. And I think that is going to be glorious. We are almost out of gas in here. One day it's going to be great, but alas, it's still got little bits. Tiny little bits. And we are drawing it out at a crazy slow speed. It hurts my brain. Nevertheless, it's a thing. Right, okay, so we've got Wheezewort dotted around the world. I could have Pips plant these Weezeworts hither and yon if I really wanted to. Right now, I'm specifically having to run around and feed the Weezeworts, which is not ideal for me. We do have, though... Oh, we don't. Oh, that's right. We may have eaten the last of the Dracos that we were trying to... Last stream was a stream of many things. Great success, and also terrible loss. The Dracos were an example of the latter. They lost their right to be alive. Not intentionally. I really am quite sad that they're dead. But, you know, it is what it is, I suppose. Let's pop that there. And down here... We're going to continue with our efforts to core out the everything. This will be a lot easier when we've got more dupes, which is something I have grown far more willing to do. I'm going to be honest, chat. I'm liking the idea of having many, many, many more dupes. So many more. Get rid of all this. Now, usually, it would have been smarter for me to have started by defining what the priorities were. But yeah, that's far too smart for me. Yeah, that's pro level gaming, and we all know that's not what you're here for. Let's get all of that set up. There we go. Dunk, dunk, dunk. Done and done. Dapper science ferret tea in a teacup. Yeah, I agree. That would be an amazing event, yes. The problem, Aavak, is that you're relying on a machine. You need a mentat. The Omnisire spits a curse upon you for implying that those of the flesh are superior to those of the steel. How dare. At this point, I know that I could make this 1 billion times faster if I just accepted it and got, like, more, you know, just set up everything a little bit quicker, but why would I? No. We're in this for the long haul, chat. We are not backing out of this one. I demand that this be done. Demand it. We're making that a gold amalgam. What will we make that a gold amalgam? That'll do. We're gonna vacuum this out, and we're just gonna accept that it's gonna hurt. And we're gonna revel in the pain of how long it takes us to get that sorted. Tempted to open this up to the vacuum space. Tempted, but not going to, because I'm not a complete idiot. Mostly an idiot, but not a complete one. Right, let's get this place mined out. We're continuing with the not mining any ice. I want to let that melt. But when this melts, that's going to be a little bit of a problem for me. Yeah, that will actually evacuate all of this to space. I mean, realistically, it doesn't actually hurt me to just let the whole map vent over time. The benefit of that is that I won't have a crazy mix of gases, but the negative of it is suddenly a bunch of things that are built outside of temperature-controlled rooms will no longer be able to dump their heat into anything and will eventually melt. So, you know, it fixes one problem by introducing many, many more. How much copper have we got? We've got a lot of copper. It's a good time. I thought the low number of dupes was most of the reason the colony got this far. Oh, yeah, absolutely. But now that we have access to space food, and also access to more water than we frankly know what to do with, the two main concerns of our dupes are taken care of. Adding more dupes is not actually going to impact the power demands of the system that much, but it will massively impact the food eaten and the oxygen breathed. So now that we've got that sorted, there's no particular reason not to continue on with that. Quite a chilly place, this. Except over here, where it is crazy hot. Those fried mushrooms are 33 degrees. The gristleberry is 44 degrees. The muckroot is 33 degrees. The liquid pipe there is 32. What on earth? And the carbon dioxide there is 32. Why, though? Oh, it's bringing in the water from the... Yeah, okay, that makes more sense. I love that they've got a little radio. It's amazing. Except now you don't have power, so... Doesn't need to go to the toilet. I understand, Cod. Yep. Ivy's grand. We are not amazing on power, but, you know, we're also not terrible. We've got 34 cycles of the gloriousness that is that natural gas geyser. We've only got 5 more cycles of the gloriousness that is the copper volcano, and then it's going to switch. Despite the fact that we've grabbed all of the copper out of here, this room is actually being kept very warm. It takes quite some time for it to cool down. We're constantly bringing more... Well, actually, no, we haven't brought any more gas in than we needed, really. Which is actually quite nice. We only bring more water into the system if the temperature ever goes above 200 degrees. Maybe I'm going to give this a little bit of leeway, though. It's 205 degrees. If it's above 205 degrees, then we want to flood the system with more water to help bring that temperature down. But otherwise, it's going okay. This is sincerely just an amazing system. And that's with this stuff coming out at crazy hot temperatures. Now, I was tempted, given how good that system is, to do the same over here. Problem with this, though... sorry, not there. Problem with these is that whilst they're bringing in significantly less hot material, they're bringing in a lot more of it. A lot more. This volcano is bringing in 234 kilos per second of 1,726 degree magma. It only does it for 71 seconds every 8,573 seconds, but chat, okay, one of you to open up calc and give me the numbers on that. Also, chat, if you wouldn't mind terribly, if you happen to know whether volcanoes are always active, like, because the copper volcano, the formula is quite simple. I think there's 600 seconds in a cycle. It's active for 41 seconds out of every 557 seconds. So from that and the weight of copper you get, you can extract how much weight of copper you're injecting into the room every second on average for 657 seconds. And then because you know it's active for 73.8 cycles out of every 126.3 cycles, you can then further extrapolate how much across 126.3 cycles, how much copper is dropped on average into this room every second. you can get that information fairly quickly. And then from that information, you know how much overall heat you need to be able to deal with. I mean, it doesn't quite balance out that way, but it's a good, place to start from. The volcanoes, though, people in chat were talking as if volcanoes don't have a dormancy, like an active period and then a dormant period.